Midnight Archive is an anthology podcast featuring the work of independent and trad-pub authors, human voices in the age of artificial intelligence. Horror, sci-fi, fantasy and romance meet in a place where the written word manifests into something too close to real. Listen with the door closed, the lights off, and your torch on. Just you, your phone, and your headphones. As an offering, we serve you the following samples of what's to come. This is Midnight Archive. She climbed the ladder to grab her signal extender and closed the hatch. A twig breaking caused her head to snap to the right. The stench hit her like a brick. She should have slammed the hatch closed. Her arm wouldn't move. Wide eyes stared at the thing as it limped out of the tree line. The skull face stared right at her. She swallowed hard. Fight or flight should have kicked in. Instead, she froze. There were no bright white spots in the void of its hollowed-out eye sockets, yet somehow she swore it was staring right into her soul. A sickening click made her flinch. Its lupine jaw popped so loud she could have mistaken it for a gunshot. No, 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 no. She desperately pleaded with her muscles to move, screaming in her own head as she felt her eyes get wider as its jaw opened more and more. With each movement there was an excruciating clicking pop that made her blood run cold with primal fear. It stayed in the tree line. A thick ooze dripped from its lower jaw, stretching towards the ground yet never seeming to touch it. Della. The voice belonged to Oz, only it wasn't him. Not exactly. It grated too sharply against the ear, full of static that felt like a TV screen left on with no reception. It made her teeth itch so badly she couldn't help how her jaw tightened to try to make it stop. Yet somehow it felt no louder than a whisper. A heaving breath sounded out more than spoken. Come here, Della. Golden reeds stood proud from the waterline, heads full of seeds. Leaves arced out of the water until their tips touched the surface again. They cradled a black mass with a mother's caress. Gin's stomach dropped. Dread filled his entire being. He knew what it was. The sight was all too familiar. "I've got something," he managed. Tom adjusted his seat and followed Gin's eyeline. He grabbed his radio. "This is Unit 4. We might have something. We're 6 miles out, heading west, about a quarter-mile from Foster's Grainyard. Over." The boat turned, coming to an even slower speed. The pilot backed the engines, bringing them to a stop. The object bobbed in the wake in the turbulence of the propeller. It was hidden from sight of the canal path. On the water it was obvious. Gin eased himself into the water. The air was warm, but it was cold in the canal. Another reminder of home, bathing in a cool but not frigid river. A welcome break after a long trek. He pulled himself through the water, his legs fighting against mud and hidden vegetation below the surface. He made his own wake, adding to the sway of the object. It was clear now it was something wrapped in black refuse bags. Black duct tape made long stripes across the thin plastic. He removed a small knife clipped to his waders. Flies buzzed and danced in the air around the object. His hands felt around it. The bag was full of air and water. Some of what he felt was soft, other areas hard. It was an odd sensation. His mind racked, trying to decode this puzzle. He pulled it away from the reeds. It floated easily. The knife made quick but careful work at the black bag. Matted hair, short, dark. He closed his eyes, not wanting the reality to be true. He turned the bag over, buoyancy making that a simple task. With precise cuts, he nicked the bag and used his fingers to pull back the plastic. A grey face, eyes open, lifeless. The head was bloated, but he recognized the resemblance. "All right," he breathed, tapping the torso reassuringly. "We've got you now." Dusk was falling along the streets of the outer vale. People walked by him without noticing. That was how it was supposed to be. No one noticed the pale order until it was too late. Assassins who stood out were useless. He leaned against the brick building across the road from the apothecary shop. For once he was glad for the lower mask he wore. It helped filter out the overpowering smells from the perfumer whose shop inhabited the building. Usually he would be on the other side where a small boy touted the newspapers, but this scholar, Emerus, walked that way to return to his inn. If anyone did happen to notice him, Lucian knew it would be someone from the Ecclesium. The Ecclesium, the public part of the Oriate Church, bathed in the light and blessed by all. He huffed, halfway to clear his nose, halfway in frustration at the fact that the scholar was with her. Lucian knew why they had sent him. More whispers of a magic healer in the Vale had spread just as quickly as Bloom. Few were actually healed in the Basilica despite their promises. Most were left to suffocate when the fungus completely filled their lungs. Lucian had seen it once. Bloom had overtook the lungs entirely. It was as if some sort of fungal forest sprouted in the once pink muscle. Mushroom-looking stalks stood as tall as the lungs would allow. Shorter ones spread along like grass. If someone didn't know what it was, they might find it beautiful. All it did was remind him that even pretty things were deadly. Pretty things. His attention returned to the apothecary shop. Solène was pretty. She was more than pretty. She was the most ethereal thing that Lucian had ever laid eyes on. Not even a seraph of the first choir could compare to her. He remembered how she'd looked when they first met 8 years ago. Her eyes were wide, innocent. Even when he snarled at her, snapped to leave him for dead, she had refused. Solène. He whispered her name like a prayer. A familiar heat shot down his chest, following the path of the scar left from that night. The first time he said her name, the pain had brought him to his knees. Lucian had bitten the inside of his cheek so hard his mouth flooded with blood to stop from screaming aloud. Now it was what kept him sharp, kept him focused. Where others evoked the name of the light, he evoked hers before his missions. Lucian had never failed once since she became his patron saint. A drake swooped in close, Azael in the saddle. Dakota's wingman gave the squadron leader a salute. Even across the distance between them, James could see the glare the rider gave him before he settled his drake back into the formation. "Our turn to patrol," Dakota bellowed over the sound of the wind and the movement of Liana's wings. "Hold on!" Liana banked to the right, the wind howling over her membranes. In the corner of his eye, James saw Azael follow. The squadron continued on as the two drakes commenced their long circuit around and ahead of the squadron. Liana increased from her cruising speed until the ground streamed below them. James pulled down his ivory eye mask, shielding his watering eyes from the rushing air. Dakota's head scanned the ground and distant air. Thick clouds hung like giants marching on to some forgotten breeding ground. No signs of drakes. James frowned. No birds. Ma Elam was alive with life. He couldn't remember a time since he had been here that he had not seen birds. The landscape looked strange without them. A chill ran down his spine. His heart quickened. James found himself looking behind him more often, trying to cover as much sky as possible. He could not shake the feeling that something lurked out here, something dangerous. Dakota banked to the left just as they had succeeded in overtaking the squadron, allowing them to pass overhead. 8 majestic drakes, wings spread, taking advantage of the winds to carry them forward. A mother called down to them, a sharp chirp. Liana responded in kind. The long turn shuddered the drake's body. They now looked behind. Clear skies for as far as James could see. The feeling stuck with him. Something is hunting us. Something terrible. The view reminded James of just how far away from Mian they were. His body yearned to hold her, to kiss her, to see that sweet smile of hers. Liana turned, her wings thrusting them further away. Miles flew by below them, taking him further from Tolilam and the woman he loved. His mood darkened with every tree that passed.